All right, today we're going to show you how to input values from a user. So the first thing that you have to know is you have to import this from the scanner class. So this line right here is the very first thing you will always need when you want a user input. Yes, there are other ways to input it, but we generally stick with the scanner class. So if you read through the rest of the notes, you'll know that there's a bunch of other ways to input, and you're welcome to use them. I have no problem with that. But this is the way that I'm going to ask you to use it for like tests and stuff. But for the most part, this is good. Okay, so this is the first thing you need. The second thing you need here is an object of type scanner. Now you don't really know what objects are, but what you need to know is this line of code. So this is the second thing you need. You create an object. It's just a special kind of variable, really. So it's scanner, then you give it a name. So what you can call this anything. I could call this in, and that's usually what I call it. But in the rest of this on the rest of this program here, I use keyboard every time I need it. So this value can change. Nothing else in this line can. So you need the word new, then you need the word scanner again, and then this is system in. So you know when we output, we use system out. Well, this is the system in version. So this is how you use it. So we create an object called keyboard that allows you to input. The next thing we need to talk about is a string. A string is not a primitive type like an int or a double. It's a special kind of, it's an object, but it works exactly like a primitive type. So you don't really have to think about it too much. So the only difference is you have a capital letter here instead of a lowercase like an int and double and things like that. Okay, so right here, this is a string. So if you want to be able to input a string, you need a variable that's a string. So that's the other thing you need to do. You need to create a variable of the type that you need. So in this little example, we are going to be inputting 2 words. So remember, a string, I don't know, maybe you don't remember. A string is a word or phrase. It's really any, I use string all the time. Anytime it's in quotes, like this right here, that's considered a string. This is a variable, an object technically, of type string. We're giving it a value of nothing. Open and close quote means it's an empty string, just to initialize it to give it a value like we always do when we create variables. Create another variable of int and another one that's a phrase. That's because when I input, I'm going to be inputting those 3 things. Okay, so that's the second thing you need. Third, I guess. So this is the first, import. The second is create this object. And the third is a variable of the type to be inputted, or input. Okay, so we have 3, so we created 3 in this case. So here, right here is a prompt for a user, and in scanner class you do need at least 1 prompt, or the console does not open up. So at least 1 prompt needed, or else that console that you see, the output console, doesn't show up. This is the actual line of input. We're going to deal with 4 different commands. So the first thing that you do is whatever you called up here, so whatever this name was here, goes here. So we create an assignment statement. So we're asking the person for their first name. So you say name equals, because what they type in is going to be assigned right into name. So keyboard is the object. So we use this dot notation, and at this moment you really don't have to understand it too much. You just have to remember to do it, and as we go you will grasp it. So keyboard dot next. So this allows one string, okay, with no spaces. So you can make a really long string, but it can only be 1, no spaces at all. The moment you hit a space, it's over. Okay, so that's going to allow that to be inputted. Then we're going to prompt them again. So prompts are definitely a good idea whenever you ask a user for input so they know what they're supposed to be inputting. All right, so notice enter your age. Age is an integer, so that's the one I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using age. Age equals same object. I can use the same thing again. It's keyboard dot next int. So this int allows you to input an integer. Allows to input an integer. So that's what you use to input an integer. Now the problem, there's a little glitch with the scanner class, this class that we're using. This keyboard here, this is just anytime you enter a next int, there's also a next double that I don't have an example of here, but the other one would be the keyboard dot next double. You need the parentheses and anything that would allow you to input, hopefully that's obvious, a double. You do have to put this code. It just allows you, you'll see if you forget it, it'll skip over the input and it's messy things happen. So needed whenever using next int or double. And you just put it right after the line. So I put it here and I put this, and then there's no worries, everything's fine. Okay, and then this one right here allows a string input of an entire line. Okay, and spaces allowed with spaces. So it'll input the whole line. Right, then we can output it using our values. So since we took this thing and the first name and put it into name, that's going to have stored name and age and phrase. So if I compile this, I believe it works, and run it, enter your first name, that's my first name, enter your age, no way will I tell you that, well you can figure out, and enter a phrase that describes you. Okay, so then it just outputs, hello Kirsten, and you could have said you are 12 years old, and awesome sauce. That's it. So that's how you input the things that you need. Reiterate, scanner class, input this. You need this object here, and you only have to write these two once, but then every time you want to input, you have to put the name of that object dot next int, next double, or next line, making sure you have a variable to hold those values in. All right, see ya.